Welcome guys to LS Plays FM and now to the second experiment here on the channel for FM21. We are of course about to go 100 years into the future with Football Manager. Now of course we have already gone 50 years. If you've missed that video, there will be a link right above me for you to click on so you can have a look at what happened in the database at 50 years and then obviously come back to what happened here 100 years later. I initially said on that video that should we hit 25 likes, I will go to the 100-year point. And to be honest, you guys absolutely smashed it. At the point of recording this, we're already well over 60 likes. And the video's also hit 1,000 views as well. And it's not even out for a week as of yet, which I cannot believe whatsoever. So a massive thank you to you guys for getting the video to the point that it's at. And as a reward, of course, we're going to go 100 years in as well. But now then, guys, let's get into it and take a look at this database. Here we are then guys, now 100 years later into FM21. We're here on the 1st of June 2120 and I cannot believe the fact we're already this far into the game and the game's only been out basically a week at the point of recording this. It's pretty insane to even think about, to be honest with you. But guys, before we do get going with the video itself, if you do enjoy the episode here today, please do chuck a like on it. It massively does help the channel out. I won't be setting a like target for it here today just because of the fact I'm not planning on going any further into the future, at least with this database. I will do with other ones. I have also got some experiments planned for once the full game comes out and we get access to the FM editor and so on. So we won't be going any further with this database here from now on. If though you are looking forward to seeing any more of my content here on YouTube, such as my Taming the Devil series with Manchester United on FM21 or any of my further FM21 experiments, then do make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you'll be notified when any of my content here on YouTube goes live. But let's get into the database itself then, guys. So, of course, I did mention last time when I did the 50 years in the future video about what leagues I do have loaded. I will also highlight for you once again here, just in case any of you here are completely new and you didn't see that first part of the video. So if we have a look at the leagues I've got loaded, we've got England's top 6 divisions, we've got France's top 3 divisions, Germany's top 3, the top 2 leagues in Italy, the top division in Portugal, all 4 leagues in Scotland, and all 3 leagues in Spain. So we have quite a big set of leagues available. And in terms of also the detail level, because I did have someone asking about this in the comments on the previous video, it's just set to the regular default detail level for the competitions and so on. I understand apparently if you have it on higher levels, there's more chance of upset. So whenever I do any future experiments, I will change this around. But let's take a look at the leagues themselves. So first of all, let's go to our leagues in focus and let's see what's going on in the Premier League. I haven't looked at any of the leagues since I've got this far, if I'm totally honest, so I've got no idea what to expect. I can see the most recent winner of the Premier League is down as Tottenham Hotspurs. Of course, the last time we looked at it, it was Norwich and Aston Villa were the 2 big boys in English football. It looks like it may have changed since then. And yeah, definitely Tottenham are up there now. Watford, surprisingly, are there in 2nd place. You've got City, Liverpool are back up in 3rd and 4th. Norwich are now down in 5th, so they have dropped off slightly. I can't even see Villa. Oh no, Villa are down there in 15th, so they've really dropped off since the last look at this database. We're only 50 years in. You've got West Ham there in 6th. Leicester in 7th. There's less kind of smaller teams up and around the top of leagues than what I was expecting from honest. You've got Leeds up there in 8th. You've got Palace in 10th. You've got likes of Barnsley in the league, Derby. But other than that, there's not that many shocks, if I'm totally honest with you. In terms of the past winners, I can see that Tottenham are destroying the Prem currently. What on earth is going on in English football? Let's have a look at the past winners. Wow, that is some utter domination there from Tottenham Hotspurs. They've won the last 10 Premier Leagues in a row. That is insane. I love the fact you got Watford up there in 2nd. You got some 3rd places there for Norwich. You got likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, West Ham, even up there in 2nd place and so on. And then it looks like you had a small little spell where Tottenham didn't win, where Chelsea and Liverpool had a few wins under the belt. You had Spurs winning again here. But then Norwich were dominating the late 2090s, early 2100s, which as someone who lives in Norwich and kind of follows Norwich quite closely, that's very, very nice to see. And it's also worth noting, guys, I do actually have a Norwich City save on the go at the moment over on Twitch. If you want to come along and join in with the live streams and so on, there'll be a link down in the description and in the pinned comment regarding the live stream series that I'm doing over there with Norwich City on FM21. It's also worth noting, by the way, guys, if you are interested in this database, there will be a link for it in the description. The same for the previous save file, whereas at 50 years, they're both available on Dropbox in the relevant description on each of the videos. But before we had Norwich doing very well, we had Chelsea. We even had Manchester United at long last with a Premier League win. Because for those of you who saw the 50 years in the future part, Man U didn't win a Prem throughout the entire 50 years. And as someone who supports United, it's good to see they finally got one in 2094-95. It's pretty ridiculous it took them that long. Well, actually, no, I've just seen they got one in 2080. So, no, at least they managed to get one 10 years after our last save point. Deary me. So we had some more domination from Norwich. We had a few more wins for Spurs and Chelsea and so on. We had Villa actually got 2 Premier League wins under their belt, because where we ended last time off, it was at 2069-70 when Villa got their first title. So they won one more, and then since then they have dropped off. Still, it's quite interesting to see actually how impressive Norwich became. I don't quite know why. I know they got taken over by a tycoon in about the 2040 period. But that's pretty insane to see how well Norwich have done. How many titles have they won in the end, out of interest? So in terms of competitions, they've won 23 Premier League since the beginning of the game. That is insane. The first one coming in 2063. So it took them 43 years to win their first. And since then, they've won another 23 titles. Pretty insane stuff to even consider. But that's the Prem kind of all wrapped up, of course, with Norwich being as good as they are and Spurs as well. But let's have a quick look at the Championship, because I've realised that we didn't actually look at the Championship at all when we looked 50 years in the future. So if we go down to the Championship, we have Hull apparently as the current holders. Borough, it would appear, have just won the most recent playoff final. We have Blackburn up there in second. We have Everton down there in 6th place. So Everton are now a Championship side, it would appear. And oh dear, Arsenal are sitting there in 7th place. And I've actually just spotted as well, Arsenal over there in 21-16-17 as actually winning the competition. So it would appear then that Arsenal maybe be a little bit of a yo-yo team now at this stage of the database. So dearie me, only Arsenal fans out there at this point, I expect they may be crying at the prospect of Arsenal being down as a Championship side and Tottenham being the most dominant team currently in English football. That's a pretty scary thing to think about for Arsenal fans. Let's actually have a look at how Arsenal have done recently. So yeah, it does look like they kind of became a bit of a yo-yo team around this period in time here, and the kind of early 2100s, kind of going up and down in the league and so on. And then most recently they went up in 21-16-17 when they won. They got relegated straight back down. They finished in 3rd, and they just finished in 7th place. So it definitely appears to be that Arsenal's luck isn't in very much. They're still playing interestingly at the Emirates Stadium as well. I thought they may have changed their stadium by now, but it appears that they haven't managed to do that. Is there any interesting winners though in the Championship? Any really small sides? I can't really see any. It doesn't look like there's any kind of tiny teams that have reached the Prem, at least not in a long old time. No, it doesn't appear to be. So no real big shocks, I would say, at least in terms of small sides. But I'd definitely say seeing Arsenal and Everton down in Championship certainly is not what I expected to see. Now, of course, that I think wraps up what we want to see here in England. Let's go over and have a look at the Bundesliga. Now, the last time we were here in Germany, it was the Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich show. Let's see who has won the most recent one. Again, it is still Bayern Munich. So still after 100 years, Bayern Munich appear to be insanely dominant. They finished on 95 points as well, which is insane. On 31 of 34 games. That is crazy to even think about. Let's look at the past business. I can see there's a lot of Bayern Munich on there as well. So most recently, it is just purely Bayern Munich domination. You've got a Dortmund victory up there. You've got Schalke, Leipzig, Dortmund again, some more from Leipzig, again some more from Dortmund. But other than that, there's really not much else to see other than Dortmund and Bayern winning a lot kind of at this period, and then just purely Bayern Munich becoming insanely dominant. Wow, all I can say is German football at this stage doesn't look particularly interesting, considering the fact the last about 20 Bundesligas, around kind of 15 of those have been won by Bayern. I suppose that's pretty close to real life then, with kind of how it looks at the moment in real life as well. And see, Dortmund are always seemingly being the team finishing in second place, other than the odd season where they actually managed to win it though. So yeah, definitely doesn't seem to be all that much in Germany has changed, sadly. Still, let's leave German football. Let's go and have a look elsewhere. Of course, there's not much to really see, unfortunately, with Germany, considering what's happened. What about France? When we last visited France, PSG had begun to kind of waver, and it was Lille were becoming the new big boys in town. What is going on now? So PSG have won the most recent title. They've managed to finish on 89 points. And I've also just spotted there, France have barely any European places. What has gone on with France in Europe? I see they're down to 11th place in the Ligue rankings. Wow, France has massively dropped off then, if that's the case. The fact they've only got a Champions League spot and then 3 EC2 spots as well. That is pretty crazy. Let's look at the past winners. I see Lyon have got a few titles under their belt, which is quite nice to see. So most recently, other than obviously the current one, which has just been won by PSG, you got a couple of wins for Lyon. You got a Saint Etienne finishing up there in second place. You got PSG with a few wins. You got Lyon again as well up there. You got some wins for Saint Etienne. So Saint Etienne have kind of returned back to their former glory days. You got some more from Lyon and Saint Etienne. So there's a big period here where there was no wins for PSG. Almost 10 years went by with no victory for PSG in Ligue 1. You then had PSG coming back. You had more wins from Saint Etienne. Saint Etienne seemed to become quite dominant, which is quite cool to see. But then it appears PSG had a massive spell of dominance in the late 2060s all the way to 2080. And then this was where we finished up where Lille had kind of just begun to maybe challenge PSG. But it looks like they became the proverbial second place Ligue 1 team until eventually they seemed to drop away. I've also spotted though that Le Mans are up there in third. And also there was a Laval who finished up there in third. So there are some small teams floating in and around the top end of Ligue 1, which is quite interesting to see. But it's very, very cool to see as well that PSG aren't as dominant as they had been. But the fact though that France's league is so poor in Europe is insane. I cannot believe that they've lost so many of their European spots. That is just nuts. Still, of course, that is France. What about over in Italy? Now, last time we looked at Italy, it was Inter Milan being dominant. And okay, Inter Milan have gone undefeated in the most recent season and have managed to get themselves 110 points. Holy hell, that is insane. I presume that's got to be a record, is it, for 110 points? Indeed it is. So this current season with Inter Milan is the record for most points and most wins. And of course, they also have gone undefeated as well. That is crazy to see such dominance from one team. Oh my goodness. Then again, there's also some smaller sides up there actually. You've got Brescia up there in 4th, which is quite cool to see. Sassuolo in 7th, Bologna up there in 6th. So some quite interesting teams though to see being up there towards the top end of Serie A. Let's look at the past winners though and see what has gone on in Serie A. It looks like it's basically just been the Inter Milan and Juventus dominance over there in Italy. It really does. The most recent ones may be won by Inter, then Juve had a spell, then back to being Inter where they won about 8 years on the bounce. You had Juventus then dominate again. You had a huge spell of Juventus dominance here. AC Milan did actually get 2 trophies under their belt. And then again, it was Inter and Juve sharing the titles. Of course, this is where we ended off beforehand after 50 years with Inter winning the most recent. So since then, it has just been purely Inter Milan and Juve dominating Serie A with that most recent just disgusting season from Inter Milan. I cannot believe they've managed to get 36 wins in a 38-game season and then not lose a game either. It is insane to see just dominance like that from one team. Still, that is Italy, and Italy certainly just seems to be exactly the same as it is in real life, much like the Bundesliga. So even 100 years in, Italian football and German football isn't really going to change very much, sadly. What about in Spain? I can see already that Real Madrid are top of La Liga, although that was a very, very close season there from Real and Barcelona. Only 2 points separating them, and both teams only ended up having 1 defeat over the entire season. So that is pretty nuts to even consider. You've got Atleti up there in third, Valencia up there in fourth. That pretty much just sounds like a normal season in La Liga. You then have Betis in fifth, Tenerife up there in sixth, which is quite cool to see, and Osasuna up there in seventh. Of course, last time at the 50-year point, Betis had a few La Ligas under their belt. Unfortunately, they seem to have dropped away now, it would appear. Let's have a look at the past winners. Of course, it just looks like purely Real Madrid dominance at the moment. It really does. And if we scroll up to the top, yeah, indeed, Real won 11 of the previous 12 seasons. Then Barcelona had a couple. Then Real, then Barca, then Real, then Barca. You can kind of see a pattern occurring here at the moment. Very much just Barca and Real. That is crazy because the last team other than Barca Real to win was indeed Real Betis back in 2064, 2065. Wow. That's nuts to think in those entire 50 years that we have simulated, no other team other than Barca or Real have won that title. I did just spot that Tenerife got a second place though, which is pretty cool to see. They even got a lot of third places as well. So they were kind of the nearly men were Tenerife over in Spain. They just about couldn't quite manage to get themselves that La Liga title. We haven't seen one from Atleti either for ages as well, which is also pretty insane to think that over 50 years, Atleti could never beat both Barca or Real. They got up to second place a couple of times, but they never got any better. Out of interest, who has the most La Ligas out of Real and Barca? I presume it will be Real. Yes, it is. Real, they're with 85 wins, and oh my goodness, Real managed to secure themselves 112 points in one season. I will presume that means they must have won 37 games, I presume. If we go to, I think it was a 21-02-03 season. And yes, there is, wow, look at the state of that table. 37 wins and 1 draw. And the draw came against Leganes. They almost had a perfect season from Real Madrid. That is crazy to consider from Real. Really, really insane stuff. Cannot believe how good that side is. Flipping heck. Well, let's have a look at the Scottish Prem because we do also have Scotland's leagues and Portugal's leagues loaded in. So we'll have a look at Scotland, then Portugal, and then the European stages and the international stage. So let's go to Scotland first of all. So the Ladbrokes Premiership. And let's see what's going on. The last time we looked before, it was Rangers and Hibernian dominating Scottish football. Is it still the case? Let's look at the league table. So currently, Rangers are indeed the most recent champions. Hamilton Academical, though, are up there in second place. Celtic are still down in third, so Celtic seem to be doing the same as what they were doing 50 years ago in-game. But Hibernian are now down there in fourth place. So Hibernian may have dropped off. Let's look at the past winners. So you've got recent wins for Rangers. Hibernian did recently win one only 2 years ago. Rangers dominated again, then some Hibernian wins once more. Queen's Park, I've just spotted, are up there in second place. Queen's Park started the game as an amateur team. So how on earth Queen's Park are up there in second? I have no idea. They're now a professional side as well, which is pretty cool to see. But I see Celtic are up there with a couple of second places. It does look like, though, that the Scottish Premier is just being purely dominated by Hibs and Rangers. But then, hang on, there is another winner. They're in 2084-85. The only other team during our next 50 years worth of stimulation to win, and it is Dundee FC. They are the only other team in this list to have managed to secure themselves a Scottish Prem. Otherwise, it is purely just Rangers and Hibs. But it's pretty insane to think, though, that the last Scottish Prem to have been won by Celtic was 60 years ago in game. I cannot believe that. They barely even got themselves into the top two very often. Only in recent seasons they've begun to kind of sort themselves out a little bit, but still they haven't managed to win themselves another title. I presume that must mean that Rangers have the most Scottish Prems. Indeed it does. Rangers up there on 97 victories now, which is pretty crazy to even consider. Well, let's go and look at our final league table, though, in the Portuguese Liga NOS. Let's go and see what's going on over there in Portugal. When we last looked, it was Sporting, Porto, Benfica, all still being the dominant three over there. Has that changed now? Let's have a little look and see. So if we go to the league table, currently Porto have won the most recent season, although it has been very, very close. There's been no kind of runaway winner over there in Portugal. It seems that Porto are not as good as they may have once been. And Portugal as well have lost a lot of European places. I see they're down in 28th place. They're below the likes of the Kazakhstani League, the Czech League, and so on. How on earth has Portugal fallen that far? You got Braga up there in second. You got Nacional de Madeira up there in fourth, and Benfica are down there in seventh place. Let's look at the past winners. I see Porto and Sporting up there, the most recent ones. You got Porto again. Benfica won their most recent one only 4 years ago in game, but have since seemed to have dropped off. And then we have got some different Liga NOS winners. You got, oh, how am I going to pronounce this? Portimonense, I think is how you pronounce that. Won 3 in a row. They also got some before that as well. You had more from Porto and Sporting. You had Vitória Guimarães with some wins there in the early 2100s, late 2090s. And then before that, it was all Porto pretty much. Benfica had the odd win here and there. Braga got themselves a Liga NOS win as well. But before that, it was to all be distributed between the big three in Portugal. It's pretty cool to see, though, that there has been some changes taking place over there in Portugal now. It's no longer quite so much business as usual as you'd expect in real life. There are some different teams getting up there and winning it. There's some different teams in the top three, the likes of Nacional de Madeira, Boa Vista getting up there, Varzim, Rio Ave as well. Definitely some more interesting sides and some more interesting ongoings taking place over there in Portugal. That, though, wraps up kind of our look at the regular league competitions. Let's, though, have a look at the European competitions instead. So we'll go first of all to the Champions Leagues. So UEFA Champions League, let's have a look at who the most recent winner is. It appears that it was Inter Milan who have the most recent title. If we go to our past winners, we can see that Inter Milan are up there after apparently beating Rapid Vienna. Interesting one there. The one before that was Tottenham, who beat Lokomotiv Moscow. Okay, bit different there. And actually saying that, Moscow actually won a title in 21-15-16. What the hell was going on then? You also had young boys up there. A lot of wins for likes of Inter, Real Madrid and Juve. Norwich even had a few Champions League wins themselves, which is very, very cool to see. I very much like that. RZ are up there from the Netherlands, okay. Tenerife even had a runners-up position in the Champions League. That's very unlucky for them. I'm a bit sad they didn't actually win it. They lost up against Bayern Munich, unfortunately for them. And then, oh my goodness, I have just spotted that young boys from Switzerland won 5 Champions Leagues over the course of 7 seasons. What the hell has gone on over at Young Boys? I haven't got the Swiss League loaded in, so it's not going to have any proper players in their side, I expect. But have they got... No, they're in all entirely greyed out players. Yet the Swiss team looks pretty nuts, having won... How many Champions Leagues they got? They got 5 Champions Leagues. And of course, that one runners-up. Apparently, they've won 70 Swiss Leagues. I'm guessing they're just destroying the Swiss Super League over there in Switzerland, our Young Boys. But fair play to them. Very much surprised by how good they've become. You've got Real in there, Bayern. Man U even won a Champions League. Get in there, United. That's good to see. You've got Chelsea, Barca, Leipzig again, Inter, Norwich once more. You've got Leipzig with a couple of wins, actually, so fair play to Leipzig. Saint Etienne very nearly won a Champions League. Very, very close. They were runners-up against Chelsea in 2086-87, unfortunately for them. You then still had a lot more domination from Madrid, Dortmund, Bayern, etc. Norwich with a couple more wins under their belts. Barca again. But then we get back to the period of time where we were 50 years in and where we had the likes of even Aston Villa winning the Champions League. So some certainly different teams up there. Norwich doing very well, which is very cool. And really surprisingly, Young Boys up there and Lokomotiv Moscow. I did not expect to be saying those two names to be winners of Champions Leagues while we're 100 years in. But somehow it has happened. Let's go to the Europa League as well. So the Europa League most recently has been won by Borussia Dortmund after they beat Man City in the final. Let's go to our past winners. And okay, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea where that team is from. What a final. Fehervar, is that? Versus Olympiakos from Greece. I presume they're Hungarian. They sound it. Indeed they are. So we have a Hungarian team winning the Europa League against Olympiakos from Greece. You have Inter, Chelsea, AC Milan, FC Copenhagen, Rapid Vienna, who played St. Gallen from Switzerland. So Swiss football seems to have become very, very good in the recent kind of 20 years or so of this 100 years simulation, it would appear. You got Lokomotiv Moscow up there with a Europa League win, Watford up there. You got Juve, Shakhtar Donetsk from Ukraine. You've got Basel have won one, Young Boys have won one as well. So Swiss football is dominating, it would seem, at the moment. I don't quite know. You've got Zenit St. Petersburg up there with runners-up. You got Norwich, Schalke, Man City, St. Etienne, Rapid Vienna with a couple more wins down here. You got Basel again. Tenerife actually did win one, so good on Tenerife. I'm chuffed to see they've done well there. You got Liverpool, St. Gallen with another win there. You got Juve and Inter Mönchengladbach from Germany. You got Lille, Spurs, Liverpool, Juve again. You got Rapid Vienna, Betis managed to win one. Even Sassuolo from Italy managed to win a Europa League, so that's pretty cool to see. And then we get back to where we were before, where Man U and Man City won the most recent ones, where we ended at the 50 years later simulation. There are some really crazy teams. I just spotted that Celta Vigo and FC Metz were runners-up in the competition, as were Cagliari as well. So some really strange teams. Even West Ham got to a final. What the hell is going on in this 100 years later simulation? There's some really strange teams floating in and around this end of the Europa League. The fact you got a Hungarian team and like teams from Russia and Austria and Denmark winning the competition is pretty nuts. It really is. What about, though, the Europa Conference League? I was asked specifically to look at this because I forgot to go over it in our 50 years later. Say, apparently the most recent one's been won by Valur. I don't even know who they are. They're an Icelandic team, apparently, has just won the most recent Europa Conference League. It's been won by the likes of PSG. You got Beitar Jerusalem. There's some really weird teams in here. Teams I've never heard of. Lech Poznan up there. Universitatea Craiova from Romania. Trabzonspor, Slavia Prague, Maribor Kord. A list of these teams. What the hell is going on? There's some really bizarre teams floating around up here. You got some big teams up there as well, likes of Arsenal winning. Of course, we saw PSG, Liverpool up there as well, Marseille. So there are some big teams. Lyon, Man U. You got Rangers even won one. Leicester up there as well. Cardiff apparently won one too. You got some more of the Swiss teams like St. Gallen up there. There's some really bizarre sides. Toulouse have won one. Rostov from Russia as well. Osijek from Croatia. Famalicão from Portugal won one really early on in 2028-29. So some very, very bizarre teams. And of course, we get to the very beginning in 2021-22 where the first competition was ever run, which was won by Olympiacos against Anderlecht. Not exactly a big draw of a final there. Out of interest, who has the most wins in this competition? Apparently Leicester do, with 5 trophies. So fair play to Leicester City. But that is kind of the main brunt of the European football. Let's also have a look at the international football. So let's go to the World Cup though. Let's have a look who has won it. So apparently the most recent holders are the Netherlands. So I don't recall if they won one in the first 50 years. Let's go to the past winners though. The most recent tournament has been Netherlands against Morocco in the 21-18 World Cup, which was won by the Netherlands. You then had France beating Germany, a bit more of a normal one. Apparently, Serbia beat Italy in the one before that. What the hell is going on in the World Cup? England beat Portugal. Germany beat the Netherlands. England beat Ireland in the World Cup final. You had Portugal who beat Switzerland. Germany beat Portugal. Spain won another one. France, Spain again. Germany, Serbia won another one in 2070. They beat Brazil. So we ended in 2070 before the World Cup had taken place. So that very first World Cup after our last simulation was won by Serbia. I did not think I would be saying that, but fair play to Serbia. They managed to win themselves 2 World Cups over the course of 100 years, which I didn't think would happen. In fact, Morocco is up there as well as a runners-up, and Switzerland. I was not expecting to see those names, but fair play to them. Let's have a look at the Euros as well. So the European Football Championship, currently France are the most recent holders. Let's look at the past winners though. When last time we looked, Scotland and Ukraine were kind of the weirdest teams. Have we got any weird teams, or is it pretty normal as we'd expect? France beat England, Germany beat England as well, so England not having much luck in recent tournaments. France beating Portugal, Spain, Portugal with some more wins, Germany, France, England again. So no, that's all very much kind of what you'd expect, at least in terms of Football Manager. None of the weird turnouts like we had before with Scotland and Ukraine winning in 2044 and 2052. Still though, some interesting sides, especially in the World Cup. I cannot believe Serbia have done as well as they have. Now, the final thing I'm going to look at as well is just the world rankings. So let's go to the world icon up here. We'll go to the world on here. We'll look at rankings and we'll go to the national team rankings, which we're already on. So currently we have Germany are the highest ranked side in world football. You've got the likes of Morocco up there in 9th, of course, the most recent World Cup runners-up. You've got Scotland up there in 10th, Ireland are up there in 12th, Algeria 13th, 14th are Switzerland, Ghana in 15th, and the United States are up there in 17th place. But definitely seeing the likes of Scotland and Morocco as high as they are is fascinating to see. It really, really is. I cannot believe Morocco made a World Cup final. That's insane. Shame they didn't actually win it, but if they had done, would have been pretty insane. Overall though, guys, I think that just about wraps up our experiment here today with us going 100 years into the future. I can safely say we've seen some very, very wacky stuff, that is for sure. Of course, the international scene's all over the place. The Champions League and Europa League with some really bizarre winners. Lokomotiv Moscow and Young Boys especially winning the Champions League is something I did not expect to be seeing only 100 years into the game. That's for sure. And of course, the likes of Norwich over in the Premier League being as dominant as they are is both fantastic and very, very weird at the same time. Hopefully, guys, you have enjoyed the experiment here today. If you have, please do chuck a like on it. It massively does help the channel out. And of course, if you're looking forward to seeing any more of my content here on LS Plays FM, such as my FM21 series, Taming the Devils with Manchester United, or any more of my FM21 experiments, of course I do have a good few planned once the full game comes out, then do hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to be notified when any of my content here on YouTube goes live. But guys, thank you very much for watching today. I will see you again next time.